Yeah. I'm under Carmelo. I'm in every group now.
Hi everybody. How you doing? Yeah. Woo! So we're like at the end of the show here and the con's almost over and Jet City's almost over and that's so sad. I don't want Jet City to be over. You guys don't either, right? Never! Alright. So before we get started here, I need to make some shout outs and just so we get to know some of the people that help make sure that this show goes on every year, and that's the sponsors, which, as you can see from this wonderful backdrop behind me, Sci-Fi Monkeys was gladly a sponsor this year for Jet City Show. We love it so much, we've been coming here for so many years that we decided that we needed to be part of it, officially. And with that, I convinced a wonderful lady that is the publisher of Evil Girlfriend Media to join me in that. And she'll be joining me on the stage in a minute. There was Atomic Comics. They're a sponsor this year. Washington Health Plan provider. Equality 365. Courtyard Marriott, which I'm sure some of you stayed at this weekend. Fingers Duke Design Studio. Woo! They're down there at the other end of the room. They made this wonderful Jet City comic shirt for me. And then we also have Moxie ESP, which if you were out last this weekend, you could have got some awesome Jet City beer. Yeah. It seems to be the new thing. Cons have beer now. Also, Tap Plastics was a great sponsor. We had Subspace Comics and Warshack Entertainment. And those were the sponsors this year, and they are the ones that made sure that this gets to happen every year. So special thanks to all of them. And special thanks to Mad Bros Media for coming and helping us out today, and my team who came and helped us out today, even though we had tons of technical difficulties. And who wants comics? I got 3 comics right here. You actually, right there with the goatee and the glasses, you raised your hand first. These are from one of the companies I work with, Neo Trash Comics. If you go over to the Neo Crash booth, Neo Trash, and he'll be happy to sign those for you. The author is here today, and Steven Jacks and Dead Babies with Chainsaws. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I am going to bring to the stage now 2 of my most favorite people in the world, no lie. Katie Cord from Evil Girlfriend Media and author Timothy W. Long. Come on up, guys. How you doing? Woo! So I didn't think that we have 3 people on this one. So for right now, we're going to take that.
Thank you.
All right, and for those of you that don't know, Katie is the publisher of Evil Girlfriend Media, and can you get it? And she's also the author of the book Maxine. He left her at the altar. She left him to the zombies. What are your other books? I'm
in a couple anthologies. I'm in Genus Loci and also Give, which is an anthology about organ donation. Oh, sorry guys. And I have a new story coming out in an anthology called Lockdown, and then Mad Maxine should be coming out next spring.
Nice. And you've also, besides just her books, Evil Girlfriend Media also publishes a number of other books Many anthologies too. We have the Wrongs, Psalms. What is it?
Yeah, Wrongs, Bombs, and
Wrongs,
Songs.
Bombs, and Songs.
Witches, Stitches,
I
and
always
Ditches.
mess
Stamps, Ghosts, and Tramps is a collection of, I call the 3 little words. We also have Murder Girls, which is a full-length novel about 5 co-eds who decide to become serial killers. And so here we have The Archivist, which is a post-apocalyptic Terminator, Indiana Jones story. And then Rachel, which is a really gruesome vampire book. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. We will soon actually have some of the reviews of that stuff back up on our site soon once it relaunches next week. And then Timothy here is the author of the infamous Z-Risen series and his new novel, Impact Earth Symbiosis.
Right. And another new novel called Damaged.
Oh, Damaged, yes, I'm sorry.
It's a heavy metal horror novel, of all things.
So I'm going to start with Katie real quick.
Yes.
What inspired you to start Evil Girlfriend Media?
Well, I had a vision for Evil Girlfriend Media initially as just being a label for me to self-publish. But in my day job, I'm a nurse, and I was eating lunch with a couple of the ladies I work with, and we started talking about Game of Thrones. And several of them were shocked that fantasy could be so interesting and dynamic. And I started telling them about different science fiction novels I'd read over the years, and I realized that that women were missing out on a lot of great concepts in science fiction, fantasy, and horror because things weren't branded for them. And so I wanted to create a company where there would be science fiction, fantasy, and horror that I found enjoyable myself, and then for women who might not, it's like a gateway drug into getting them into science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Because I think a lot of mainstream women don't see that that it's for them. It's not. We're not all just like odd or weirdos because we like science fiction that's why I decided to open it up for other authors and to try to get more women reading, just in general.
And you've been doing Evil Girlfriend Media now how long?
Evil Girlfriend Media opened in January of 2013.
Okay, right on. And how many books do we have published now with Evil Girlfriend Media?
I think we are up to 9, 10.
And she's had some really great authors come through too. I mean, from Jennifer Brozek to Kevin J. Anderson. Even you've done something, I believe. Yeah.
And a couple of stories and anthologies.
Yeah. You've had some great talent has come through. So.
And I've actually been. I'm not gonna lie. I've been actually really. Of course, you pay the money so that they'll work with you. But the fact that some of these bigger names were even interested in working with me at all, I was really impressed that they would consider working with our brand and helping promote us. So, yeah.
Good for you. So, do you have any other books coming out soon? I know you're working on some stuff.
We do have a book launching on November 15th called Star Realms Rescue Run, which is a tie-in novel for the Star Realms board game or card game.
Is that John De La Rosa's?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And then in mid-2017, we actually have an online serial coming out with a pretty well-known zombie author, but I want all the contracts signed before I say
Online serial, so a
yes.
So story online.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
And I'll vouch for that author. She's awesome. she's getting a really good author.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
But we're waiting for contracts to be signed.
Every contract has to be signed before we release names. You learn that after a couple of years.
Right on. So Tim.
Yes.
Let's talk to Tim for a second. Tim has written many novels also.
15.
15 so far.
15 books, yeah.
15
In 8 years.
And the latest is Damaged.
Right, which is a book I co-authored with another author named Jim Marquitz, who he's one of the owners of Ragnarok Publishing, and he's also a fantastic editor. He's now editing my books along with us.
Well, tell us about Damaged.
Damaged is a book about a 1980s heavy metal band that was about to fail. They were on their last few dollars. They got to a club on fumes, and like 6 people showed up. One guy pulled up a lazy boy in front of the stage and watched them. And they said, "We should just break up." And this guy walks into the room and says, "Hello, boys and girls." There's the drummer's a female named Sunny. Said, "I'd like to make you a deal." And it turns out that it's the devil himself. And so over the next 25 or 30 years, they become the largest band in the world. Hundreds of millions of CD sales. Metallica opens for them. And they are very slow getting their album done. They are not meeting their obligations, and the devil's not very happy about it, so he would like to collect their souls from them, and they don't want to give them up.
Nice, nice. All right. And then, normally Tim is known as a zombie writer with his
I think
Z-Risen series.
that's pretty fair. I've written the Z-Risen series, the Among the Living series, Beyond the Barrier series, the Zombie Wilson Diaries, and I think that's it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
a lot of zombies.
Those are zombies.
That's a lot of zombies. But from my understanding and some convincing from Miss Katie Cord here, Tim now has his first superhero novel out.
Yeah, I do.
Tell us about that.
It's called Impact Earth Symbiosis, and it's about it's sort of an alien invasion over the skies of Seattle, but 5 ordinary average people suddenly they're suddenly manifesting superpowers. They don't understand why they have them, how they have them, or what to do with them. But the characters are a little bit. There's some good people. There's some bad people. There's a kid who was bullied, and his attitude is, no one's ever done anything for me. Why should I help people? Yeah, it's a very fun book. It took me 3 years to write. I initially started it at a convention in 2013, hanging out with Peter Kleins, and we were talking about superhero books. And I was like, I think superheroes are going to be huge in books, not just graphic novels. And I've got this idea for a book. He was like, we should write it. And so after 3 years, I finally finished it. I might have had a little urging. Some help.
So was it different writing the superhero book compared to all the zombie novels that you've written before, or
No,
did you find anything
I do
difficult about it?
character-based books, so it's always right. I always have characters show up in my head, and then they're like, "Tell my story," and so that's how the book came together. That's how my books come together. It's not really an idea; it's more about the characters that just pop up in my head.
This is why we work.
If you don't know, these two are also a lovely couple who didn't tell us they were dating for a year after they were dating.
What?
But it was good. They were two of the cutest, most annoyingly adorable people I know.
We didn't. Obviously, he had a lot more clout in the industry. He knew a lot more people than me, and I was very nervous about people thinking that I was like trying to trail on him or take away from him, because I was a zombie writer as well. And so he was more than willing to tell people we were dating for a long time, and I was just like, no, I don't want people to buy my books or look at my stuff because of you. And then so finally, after a year, we decided, yeah, it's a no. It's good. We can.
You didn't want people to think you were his Courtney Love.
Yeah, pretty much.
So a similar question to you. When you're writing your stories, Katie, what involves your inspiration for so much? Like Maxine, for one, which is a pretty deep book. How did that come to your brain, basically?
Oh my gosh. So with Maxine, there's a lot of different elements. One of the things that you'll find with Maxine is it's set in a kind of like isolated, dystopic society that is based in a McCarthy era. And I took a little bit of influence from my grandmother because she grew up in the 1950s, and so there's elements of that, and with the not just McCarthy era, but in general, there's like that 1950s mold that people had to fit in, and then that mold has always been there. But the 1950s it was really predominant. So I wanted to play with the idea of propaganda and people being brainwashed and the molds that they have to be in. And I had also been bullied, and it was a little different, which I talked about on the Ladies of Literature panel. But initially, Maxine was nothing like me. But after reading it a couple times, I was like, this book is missing something. And after talking with Tim, because we talk about each other's writing, we could probably sell each other's books. I agree.
That's true.
I agreed to put more elements of what it feels like to be bullied, and that anger sometimes and feeling of helplessness that you have. And if you let that anger stay inside of you, you can feel like a monster. And so Maxine actually becomes a monster. She's half zombie. And so that was pretty much what I was thinking about. I was like, how can I talk about being bullied in a different way? And one of the things that we don't, you don't hear a lot about, and even in education about bullying, is that it makes you incredibly angry to be picked on. And so, even if you don't know how to channel that anger, it is in there, and sometimes it can make you feel very ugly, to feel helpless, not to be able to get these people to leave you alone, and you don't know why they're picking on you, and you can't change who you are. And some people do try to change who they are. And so Maxine kind of changes. And there's a little homage to Stephen King's Carrie, because when I got that book in 8th grade, and I learned about this girl with these psychic powers who's a misfit, who goes to prom and like pretty much destroys everybody, there is a little bit of satisfaction that there is some way that, you know, you can change things. Obviously, I don't advocate getting psychic powers and destroying a whole, you know, gymnasium full of people. But I do think it's important that we address that anger and helplessness does traumatize you.
You've never fantasized about that?
No.
Just not even a little.
Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, even I have. I mean, we all have a little.
Well,
you just want to bring the roof down sometimes on people.
yeah, I mean, it does, and you know that anger just makes you just, you know, you feel like the Incredible Hulk inside, and you're just like, I know I'm helpless to change the situation right now. So yeah, so that's where Maxine comes from. There's a lot of different elements, and yeah, there are a lot of layers in the book, and a lot of like subtle pop culture references that, depending on how big of a geek you are, you'll get.
So what do you have coming out next, Tim?
My next book is the 5th book in the long-running Z-Risen series, which is coming out in a few weeks.
Do we have a title for it yet?
Yeah, it's called Z-Risen Barriers. Z-Risen, that's right, Z-Risen 5. And shortly after that, I'm going to do a project that I can't really talk about yet, but it's something I never thought I would do, but I'm going to do it. So
He's going to write fan fiction for
for
somebody
pay.
else.
For pay? Are you?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That's
and
a
Kindle
thing?
Worlds.
Kindle
Yeah.
Worlds, yes, I've been looking at that
Yeah.
myself.
I've been
It's-
approached by an author, and at first I said no, and then he wore me down, so I said sure.
The 100?
Nope.
Dang.
No, it's.
I think you could write the 100.
It's a friend of mine. I really like his books. He sells extremely, extremely well. And then after that, I will have the second book from Impact Earth out,
Yes.
called Impact Earth 2 Metastasis. Yeah,
Metastasis.
hopefully around March. I'm pretty much booked for all of next year.
So soon. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Took 3 years to write the first book, and only a year to do the second book.
I'm surprised. You're another one I'm surprised we don't have a film out on one of your books that someone's snatched up, or has anyone offered?
You know, I've had several producers come to me, and I've even had a film guy, like an agent, approach me, but nothing ever comes of it. You know, they are like, oh my gosh, I'd like to talk to you about this and that, and I don't know. Sometimes film people can be a little bit flaky. Is that the word? Yeah. But I have
that's in Hollywood.
I've got a book I've had several movie studios come to me about, called the Zombie Wilson Diaries, because it would make a really funny, not exactly a rom-com, because it's a guy stuck on a deserted island with a zombie girl. But I guess sort of the opposite. It's him trying to keep her alive, because if she dies, he'll have no one to talk to. So
That's a good reason to.
it's a little bit weird.
It's a good reason to keep someone alive. So I just
alive
wanna-
undead.
Just want to ask real quick, does anybody have any questions out here in the audience? No? No? Yeah?
So typically the first step in doing anything's the hardest. So what was the first step you had to take when you started your publishing company, or Evil Girl Media?
Well, the first thing I did was I was actually at a writers conference, and I had had the idea in my mind for quite some time, and I was sitting around with a bunch of people late at night, and we'd been talking about our manuscripts, and everybody had their future dreams. And this was like right when ebooks were starting to come out, and I was like, well, like, I have this idea where I'd like to start this company called Evil Girlfriend Media and publish people, and especially women. And I thought everybody would kind of like, you know, snicker under their breath or like roll their eyes at me, and like several people were like, that's really cool. And I was like, oh, okay, that's actually cool. And then I wrote out the plan, and then I put it in a folder, and I didn't do anything with it for a year. And then I made the decision to self-publish. He left her at the altar, she left him to the zombies. And I got a table at ZombieCon, and I said, and it was like, what, $350? Even back in like 2011, $350 to get a table. And so I said, all right, I've invested this $350. I'm gonna have a book out and I'm gonna publish it because no matter what it looks like. And so I did as much research as I can. I wrote the book, and it was not perfect at all. Oh my God, it was so bad. It was a horrible cover, horrible formatting. But there's this really cool like little video going around Facebook right now that an artist put out, and he said, it says, don't try to do everything perfect, just finish it. So even if you're scared to make a step, just do a step. It could be the wrong one, as long as you're moving toward the direction of what you wanted. Like if I sat and I thought about all the mistakes I've made, I would like crawl under the bed and I would never come out. If I thought about all the people that like have laughed at me or were like, you can't do that, or you're not qualified for this, or you didn't get your master's degree and this or that, it's like I probably wouldn't have done anything, but I was somehow or another just like, I'll figure it out as I go. Are you thinking about writing, or?
Not necessarily writing, but definitely I have a friend who's actually starting wants to start a record label. Music industry is a little different, but it's getting started that's hard.
Yeah, and you know, there's like two camps of people I've found in the creative industry. There are people who are really amazing, who can do things, and they're kind of like too busy to deal with you. But then there are other people who are really amazing who find time to help people. And it's just finding those people to help you. And then you have those like people who are just like jerks no matter what, even if they're good or bad. And those people you just have to completely ignore and just be like, obviously you're doing your own thing, you don't want to help anyone except for yourself, and whether they're doing a great job or not, their negativity, you don't want to be around it if you're a new person. You want to be around the positive people. Even if their work is not perfect, if they're positive and they're working towards something, you can learn from them. Because that's actually how he and I became friends. When I started out, like he was already published by Bermuda Press, which at the time was a huge publisher of post-apocalyptic fiction.
Zombie stuff.
And like I would go by their table and like at cons and stuff, and I just like have my eyes down, especially because at the time they didn't publish a lot of women. And I would never talk to any of them. And he actually came up to me and talked to me because he wanted to buy a Kindle cover for his daughter, and I was like, but he became a friend, and we started talking about books, and I learned so much from him. And then I became friends because I became friends with him, and he was already doing so well and giving me advice. I had confidence to be friends with more people who taught me more things. So I think I would assume that, you know, producing records would be very similar, and you find those creative people who are positive and don't see every single person as competition. Because there is competition, but really I know in writing I've learned that there's enough room for everyone, and there's enough people who want a little bit of everything. And so you can't get a bad attitude if someone else is writing the same thing as you, or producing the same thing as you. You actually want to become that person's friend so you can trade fans. And then everybody makes money and fans get more books. So
Awesome, thank you.
I promote their books, so they send me people. Here, have a autographed copy of Maxine by Katie Cord and Evil Girlfriend Media. Is that the one of the Whipple ones?
So that is an exclusive keychain for our Kickstarter Women in Practical Armor. So.
Oh, all right.
I was just going to mention that that's really good advice, because a lot of people don't. I think a lot of writers are very insular and they're very introverted. But I found some of my best networking is just reaching out to other authors and talking to them, especially at conventions.
Yeah.
Because the more you get to know these folks and talk to them and just talk about the business of writing or publishing or, you know, if it's going to be a record label, just getting to know network, getting to know the business, because it's not always easy.
It's not. It's just for Sci-Fi Monkeys alone. We did have to get in there because nobody gave two damns. You know, until you've got enough. This is a market where it's all about word of mouth nowadays, comparatively, unless you've got buku tons of bucks. Yeah. I have an online question for Tim. Was zombie genre what you wanted to go into, or did that just happen?
It's a weird. I was taking some writing classes and I really wanted to get something published. I wanted to sell a story, and there was a publisher who was buying zombie stories. They were buying them like crazy. And I'd always been a zombie fan, you know, like Night of the Living Dead and stuff. And I was like, well, how hard could it be to write a zombie story? I bet I could write one. Duh. And so I wrote one and it sucked, and then I wrote another one and it was even worse. And then I wrote one that I thought was pretty decent, and I sent it and they bought it. And I was like, oh, thanks. And so they had another open call, and I wrote another story and they bought it. And then they had a little flash fiction thing, and I sent another story in, and the guy finally wrote me and said, hey, I really like your writing. He listed what he liked about it, and he said, are you writing a book right now? Because I'd like to talk to you about publishing. And I said, yeah, I'm writing a zombie book right now, which I started that night. And I finished it in 6 weeks and delivered it. And they published it, and that book was called Among the Living.
I've been promoting that book the last few days.
And it's literally, I call it a kitchen sink zombie book. It's got every zombie trope, cliche that you can think of. It's got fast zombies, it's got slow zombies. It's got a serial killer as a main character.
Right on, right on.
So I guess I sort of stumbled into it.
Stumbled into
Yeah.
it? So it wasn't your first choice, it was just kind of like...
Well, I've always I was taking a science fiction writing class, and my writing instructor sent me an email and said, I love your writing, but everything you've sent in has sort of, I don't think she meant it in a mean way, but she said it creeps me out. Have you considered writing horror? And I was like, horror? What, like Stephen King? Why would I even attempt a genre like that when there's people like Stephen King and Clive Barker? They don't need another horror writer.
Well, obviously we did.
But it turned out that it was a good fit.
That was a good move on your part too. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
This is kind of maybe self-answer question, but the idea of a zombie has changed a lot since I was there. It used to be slow-moving, dead bodies who were underneath the zombie.
The George A. Romero zombie.
No, he's talking white
No,
zombie.
it's like voodoo.
Voodoo,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I watched
okay.
the zombie.
Yeah.
Is anyone writing stories about the voodoo type of zombie, or they're all? Well, I can see.
I don't know if I have not seen anyone writing. But
Well,
I
you've
have,
given me a great idea now. So.
it has, on television has been doing a lot of stuff with those versions of zombies for the last few years. Particularly last I saw it was on American Horror Story, Coven. They brought the zombies to life. I have recently seen that in multimedia just recently, and I think it's because the zombie craze. But I don't know. Have you guys seen it?
You know, I haven't seen it very often, but sometimes, especially writing zombie fiction, it becomes very formulaic because one person wrote this way and it sold a lot. People start to write the same way. But I know that concept, but I haven't seen it a lot. I actually just I'm about halfway through a what they call Louisiana voodoo story. So I'm thinking maybe I need to integrate this.
It's a good idea.
There's even a comic book that was not really that.
Oh yeah.
And it was your mention of slow zombies.
I've always been a fan of slow zombies. That's like, I feel like the anticipation of like, even though they're slow moving, they're not stopping. So you can run as fast as you want, but eventually they're going to get there. It's like a rabbit in the hare thing. You can run all you want, but they're just going to keep coming. slowly towards you.
Like every Friday the 13th movie where
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
running and Jason's just walking.
It's all about escaping the masses and the press of zombies bearing down on you. I like both, but the quickest way to start a Facebook fight is to post, what do you guys like, fast zombies or slow zombies? And within 3 hours, people are going to be calling each other names. Because I've done it, and unintentionally. And I stopped asking that question.
You troll. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming out. This lady right here is going to get a stack of books right here and this keychain because she has come to this show all day long, and I love you for that.
That's Debbie.
Yes, so
Debbie?
we met her
Hi,
today. She's
Debbie.
really awesome.
These are 3 of Tim's books. We've got the first book from Z Risen,
And we've
and then his new
two, I
book,
think.
Impact Earth Symbiosis. And then there's another one of those exclusive keychains. Here we go. All right. So I want to thank you guys again. They're 2 of my dearest friends, and I love them so much. And look for in the future, we're going to be working with them, and we're going to be doing a web series.
Undead and Dating.
Called Undead and Dating. You can check out some of their preview stuff now on YouTube under Undead and Dating. So, and yeah, make sure you go online on Amazon or evilgirlfriendmedia.com, or is it TimothyWLong.com?
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I always forget if the W is in there or not. So,
Yeah, it is.
and make sure you guys go check them out. There's about 15 minutes left of the show. Go hit up booth 101 and go grab a book and get some stuff autographed from them too if you can, all right? All right. Love you guys.
Thanks, all.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, that is the end of Jet City Live. I want to thank everyone for coming out, everyone that attended Jet City, everyone that works for Jet City that had to deal with me. And I appreciate everyone that was in the audience, all the online questions and everything that was online. Thank you guys. And we will see you next year. Bye!